Hello, IB history scholars. It's Mr. Newcomb, and today I'd like to focus on Stalin's era. Joseph Stalin led the Soviet Union from 1924 to 1953, and during this time period, he definitely defined and shaped the Soviet Union into an industrialized state as well as a superpower state. Now, I would like to engage in a little historiography by looking at the character of Stalin's Soviet state, and there are a few components that I want to really emphasize. One of them is this idea of Stalinism. Historians will refer to Joseph Stalin's era as Stalinism. This is his form of communism. This is how he is interpreting Marxism, Leninism. So what makes up Stalinism? Well, historians will focus on a few key elements. One, they look at the Soviet state as a bureaucratic one-party state. The economy is a command economy, and control is maintained by terror. There is a culture of complicity going along with what Stalin is ordering and doing, as well as this idea of a cult of personality that is built around Joseph Stalin and his image as being the great motivator, the shaper of the Soviet Union. Now, Soviet communism was viewed as violent. Vladimir Lenin had said that violence was an inevitable law of the revolutionary movement. So, with the Stalin purges, one could then interpret that it was a necessary element of the revolutionary movement. Now, this revolution was coming from above. Typically, revolutions have a grassroots element to it, but in the case of the Soviet Union, the revolution is going to come from above, and it's going to be directed by Joseph Stalin. In order to do that revolution from above, he's going to need to have some party loyalty, and what Joseph Stalin does early on in his leading of the Soviet Union is begin to remove the old Bolshevik revolutionaries. And he does that through a variety of means, like the Lenin enrollment, where he opened up the Communist Party. He replaces the old Bolshevik revolutionaries with a new generation. And this new generation of communists will have to do the bidding of Joseph Stalin. That goes along with it. He opened up the party to you, and as a result, you're going to have to show that loyalty by just complying with the orders that Joseph Stalin will come up with. And so therefore, it creates this fear of Stalin. And so his top ministers, his organizers, this new communist generation is just simply going to comply, and they do not want to be seen as not following the party line. And finally, there is this lack of tradition of civil rights in the Soviet Union. And again, we should not be really surprised here. Under Tsarist Russia, there was a lack of civil rights. And so that simply carried on into the Soviet Union. So historians would like to debate whether or not Joseph Stalin was able to create the totalitarian state. And so in order to create a totalitarian state, remember, it implies that there's total power and total control over the state. When Joseph Stalin makes an order, he is passing his wishes on to someone else. And through that means that it could be subject to multiple interpretations. And so by him not directly implementing those orders, it gives the element that there is a lack of total control. But when you look at the type of government that is created and the mechanisms that he puts in place, you can definitely make a good case that he did create a totalitarian state, one in which he ran it. And yes, it was highly bureaucratic, but he had a role in every level of it. He was able to fulfill the work begun by Lenin in turning revolutionary Russia into a one-party state. Uh, he was able to find ways to maintain political and social control. He did create a command economy with agriculture and industry under central direction. Uh, there was this idea of a cult of personality built around Joseph Stalin. Again, I had mentioned that there was this cult of complicity in which people complied to the wishes of Joseph Stalin. He imposed this concept of socialism in one country, and he had strict censorship as a means of enforcing this culture of conformity. And he was able to get this idea that there is one and a correct and acceptable ideology, which is Marxism, Leninism, Stalinism. So you can really make a good case that Joseph Stalin is a totalitarian and perhaps the ultimate totalitarian.